Hey everyone, it's Nikes, and this is a commentary on my 7th season, Ninjago Downfall. This season was a follow-up to my 6th season, Ninjago Divided, and this just basically closed the open end that Divided left with Lloyd leaving the team. So, just so you know, I'm not actually going to be really talking about what's on screen right now. I just have the episodes going because there just needs to be background footage. Uh, but I'm not watching it right now. Actually, I'm just gonna add it in post. But I'm just gonna be talking about various uh forms of the production on the season. So really just brainstorming, writing, and in the end, I'm gonna talk about the deeper meaning that this season has. So first of all, whenever the 2020 Somerset rumors, whenever the rumors started to get leaked, at first I was like, I'm not gonna do a season on this. I think this sounds incredibly stupid and incredibly unoriginal for Ninjago. So at first I was not gonna do a season on this at all. But then the sets leaked, and I thought, you know what? That actually looks alright. I can probably squeeze a season out of that. But whenever the Skull Sorcerer fully leaked and saw that symbol on his chest and its meaning, I just knew that like it would be the perfect follow up to Divided. Originally, Divided was gonna end with Lloyd turning evil, because in episode 7, whenever Lloyd touched the scroll, like it kind of just like possessed him. Since he's the grandson of the first Ninjitsu master, the scroll has a different effect on him basically in my series. So originally the final battle was going to be against Lloyd, but then I decided that since the Skull Sorcerer was green and he had that symbol on his chest, I thought, Lloyd is the son of Garmadon, and the Golden Ninja. I've kind of like always like since he's part of the first Ninjutsu Master bloodline. That's the first Ninjutsu Master is basically the god of Ninjago, so like the Holy Spirits. And Lloyd was I kind of hinted to a relationship between Lloyd and Akita in the earlier episodes, so I thought, you know what, Lloyd can just, become a dad. And it was never shown, but Lloyd and Akita are yin and yang. But so yeah, Lloyd. I just had to write something so Lloyd could fully apply to the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So yeah, and after I released episode 2, um, yeah, I dropped heavy hints that Lloyd was the Skull Sorcerer, and a few people like commented, like saying like, "I think Lloyd's the Skull Sorcerer," and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to happen, and it did happen." So that was pretty exciting. But in the season finale, I also kind of poked fun at the stupid theory that Klaus would be the Skull Sorcerer. Klaus helped Omega get back to the main universe. Uh, and so Klaus says something like, "No problem. Now I have to go be the master of the mountain," or something. So I was gonna like try and confuse people to make them think like, oh, the Klaus is the Skull Sorcerer. So kind of just like leading some misdirection because the overall arc of the season was actually written before I finished Divided. And also earlier throughout the year, I put a bunch of old figures back together. I went through like most of my Legos, and so I was like gathering all the arms, torsos, hands, legs, heads, and I was able to put I think I was able to put back like together like 50 figures in one night, and that also included a bunch of, or no, not a bunch of, but some skeletons from Day of the Departed sets. And so I thought with the dungeon set having a giant skull in front of it at like the front of the dungeon, kind of reminiscent of Garmadon's Dark Fortress, I thought it'd be pretty cool if like it reminded me a lot of the Underworld, so I decided to just with the skull can have it take place in the Underworld. But even with putting a bunch of the figures together, my Skulkin army was still pretty small, so I added in Stone Warriors because I don't even know. I just needed more of an army, and it's my series. I can do whatever I want. I'll probably just retcon a way that it makes sense later, but yeah. And then lastly, something that I like even did in 2016 with Day of the Departed. I've always like had the thought that like if Chima is another realm in Ninjago, then Nighton from Nexo Knights is another realm in Ninjago. So uh I wrote that into the or I wanted that to be in Downfall, so I put Aaron in episode 9 of Divided, just to kind of say that like, hey, these realms are actually connected. Uh and so I could also use that to explain the whole night armor that the ninja got. And night jitsu was something that I actually came up with in the spring. Well, the name isn't original, but I thought that like night jitsu could be the combination of the agility and the stealth of a ninja and the strength and defense of a knight. So basically just like a combination of a ninja and a night jitsu. It's really simple, but I thought it was a pretty neat idea. Bringing back the original Cole from my first three seasons was also an original idea. And originally, the ninja were going to be in a hunch in the underworld, and uh, Cole was gonna come in and save the day, even though he was ultimately gonna betray them. But I thought that doesn't make as much sense. That like, why would Cole already be in the underworld? So I had to just take place in the normal realm, I guess, like the main realm. So yeah, and there weren't any. There was like, yeah, there was one hint to Cole actually being evil, and that was like, why would Cole know to stop the Skullkin? Like at that exact moment, like how would he know to show up unless, Skull Sorcerer told him to? Another thing that I wanted to do was have Hezeger ultimately betray Lloyd, and so I wrote the whole backstory of Hezeger once being a blacksmith who was hired by the first Spinjitzu master to create the scrolls of forbidden Spinjitzu. So that was just kind of a way to like explain how they were kind of possessing Lloyd, since it was Hezeger's plan for a long time. And Hezeger needed the ninja in order to become human again. He needed all of their elements to become human again. So his plan was to use Lloyd to attract the other ninja. So then the machine that Cyrus built could be used to not only bring the dungeon into the uh, real realm or like normal realm, but also to make Hezeger human again and all powerful. And yeah, originally the Blades of Deliverance were not going to be up here at all, but I thought, I was like, Hezeger has to have a weakness, and so I was like, he made the Blades of Deliverance, and when he's hit by the blades, it basically makes him weaker. The geckos and months were added last minute during filming because I needed more grunts for the army. So I came up with the idea that the geckos and the months were all native creatures to the underworld, and whenever the Skullkin took over, they enslaved the months since they were really powerful and they could do a bunch of heavy work and be like bodyguards and stuff. And they killed off most of the geckos except for the last one, which I named Gex because at the time of writing, I was watching a lot of Scott the Woz. So if you watch Dark Age of Nintendo, Jeb Jab is always like thinks that they're playing Gex, so that was kind of just like a nod to that. But I do want to make Gex a reoccurring character, just a part of the team. So yeah, they were all added last minute, like whenever I started filming. But I guess that's kind of okay. So I'm gonna go back to spring when it was still in the brainstorming phase. And another thing that I knew was that I wanted someone else to voice the Skull Sorcerer. So I just said on Instagram, hey, I need a kind of deep voice to voice the Skull Sorcerer. Reply if you're interested. So I gave them audition lines, and Luma 208 ended up getting the parts, and yeah, he did a really, really good job. You should check out Luma's Instagram and his channel. I will be leaving a link to both of those in the description, so please go check his stuff out. The Skull Sorcerer having a different voice actor was also to kind of uh, get rid of suspicion on, Lloyd or someone that we know being it. And Luma had never voiced anyone before in my series, so I was like, it was like, oh, this is a completely new character, but it was just the mask and Hazard's possession. So yeah, the other two voice actors that were not me were Lego Man Sam and Studios, both good friends. Uh, they both appeared in the Prime Empire segment of the first episode, and the whole idea of that segment, there was 2 points of that segment. First off, to do something Prime Empire, 'cause since I wasn't doing a season on it, I just thought, like a really short scene. But another thing was to do it correctly. I've seen like 5 or 6 Prime Empire seasons, and they were fine, but when it came to like actually representing a video game, they were atrocious. So I built a special rig to connect Jay to the camera. So like whenever Jay would walk forward, I'd move the camera slightly so it's like the camera's following Jay like a video game. And then Jay went to change his suit. So I had like a suit selection screen with like press A and sound effects and flashing text. And then Jay it would enter the like big thing in the middle of the market to start the next mission, along with a loading screen and then starting off with a cutscene. So yeah, I kind of wish I would have done a Prime Empire season. I love video games. I play them all the time, and I understand like I would make it actually feel like a video game. I will be using some of the ideas that I thought to make it feel more like a video game, or just have it make more sense. Really, I'm using some of those ideas in Elemental Awakening coming out at the end of next month. So look forward to that, I guess. But I just wanted 2 voice actors for in-game, because I didn't want to just use my voice for the game, because it would have made it feel like really weird. That's like you're hearing my voice as Jay, then you're hearing the same voice twice in a game. So Lego Man Sam was just a simple market uh, salesman, and then Cibello was Jay, video game Jay. That's how I credited it. And then also one of the Ninjoids actually was missing a leg, and that was done on purpose. That was supposed to be like a glitch. Like sometimes a game will just randomly glitch out, and like uh, something just weird might happen. In a lot of old games that I play, sometimes like sprites will just like partially disappear for a second. Like in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening in the final boss battle, sometimes like something will disappear, whether it's like Link's body or nightmares. Something weird will happen where like a part of them disappears for a second. So that was just kind of like a reference to that. Again, making it feel more like a video game because video games have glitches. But yeah, that was another idea that I wanted to get in there, and I think that's it for ideas. I also knew that I wanted the season to end with Lloyd and Cole versus Hazajir, and so I wanted like some like intense music, or I guess just like cool music, different music, just not the same crappy Kevin MacLeod royalty free action music that everyone uses. And so when I was editing episode 2, I typically have like Chrome open and YouTube playing. And so whenever I'm editing episode 2, I was watching the Angry Video Game Nerds 4-part Castlevania series, and before every game, he would have like a bunch of just like quick cuts of action along with like music from the game. And so he used Simon Belmont's theme for the Super Castlevania 4 segment intro. And I remember it just clicked there, and I was like, yeah, that's the track. That is gonna be the track that I'm using in the final battle. One thing that I set out to do with the season was to improve animation, so I just started doing some more things, easing in and out. I started shooting like action scenes multiple times. Uh, there was like, I think it was the shot in episode 2 where Cole hits, I think it's Crazy with his sword. When Cole hits Crazy, I think I shot that like 5 times, and I think I ended up choosing the fourth one, but yeah, I just went over them and I was like, I remember I liked the fourth one the most, so I used that. So that's something that I also did, shot things multiple times and picked my favorite. Uh, so I'm pretty proud with how the animation turned out. It's just that in some scenes, I was focusing too much on the animation and not enough on the lighting. So there was light flicker, and poor lighting. So I'm trying to work on that with Elemental Awakening. I'm trying to fix that because I think I've got the hold of animation now. So yeah, that was definitely a main focus, and I think I did pretty well, especially looking at the final fights of Divided versus the final fight of Downfall. You can definitely see a huge improvement there. So yeah. Overall, the full actual production of the season, which I consider like shooting and editing, that was a little, yeah, that was a little bit more than a month and a half from like, I think mid August, like August 20th to October 3rd. Uh, So shooting began like the Friday after I got the new sets. Or no, I think it was the Thursday after I got new sets. No, I think it was Friday because Thursday was when I. Okay. I started shooting the season the Friday after I got the new sets, and I finished editing on the 3rd. So, yeah, that's probably been the shortest production time any season of mine has had, a month and a half. Because A New Beginning, while that was also 4 episodes, that was done in 2 months. Now, I think it's easy to see why. I had a lot more time for Downfall. I did school online completely over the last semester. So basically, once I'd be done with school, it would typically take like 2 to 3 hours every day. So, as soon as I'd finish school, I'd get to work on continuing the episode. And so I had plenty of time uh, to work on the episodes versus last year where I still had 7 hour school days and finals were coming up when I was working on the last episode and just doing stuff to try and get grades up for the semester ends, which is kind of what I have to do in January since the semester ends like late January for me. But anyways, that's been the shortest production time for any season. I don't think it's as good as Divided. I like Divided's story more. Uh, but I do think that like the pacing and the action especially was ultimately better in Downfall, and the deeper meaning in Downfall was uh way better than Divided. Deeper meaning wasn't added to Divided until the later episodes during the whole COVID thing. Meanwhile, the deeper meaning of Downfall was throughout the whole season in Cole. But back to the final, basically just like my final things on the production of Downfall. In case you're wondering what I'm used for it, first of all, I used camera, a Nikon Coolpix P100, shot everything on that. I used 3 desk lamps and a additional floor lamp for extra lighting, and I used Shotcut to add special effects like green screen, stuff like that. I used OpenShot to put everything together for the final render, and I used Audacity for the audio editing. And like always for animation, I used Windows Movie Maker and I also used that to put all the sound effects and music in. OpenShot was just used to like put every clip together because sometimes I have to export things in clips because if a Windows Movie Maker file has too many uh, files in it, it will not be able to export. So sometimes I have to like edit scenes into 2 or 3 minute separate scenes and then put it all together in a different editing program. I learned that with episode 10 of Divided. That was definitely a pain, but the bulk of it was done with Windows Movie Maker, and it's free and it's not the best, but it works. Um, Doing stop motion on it is a bit complicated. It does take a little bit of getting used to and some workarounds. I might do a tutorial on how to edit with it one day though, because it is a free program, uh, so it's openly available. But yeah, now on to the deeper meaning of downfall, and it's definitely the deepest meaning I've ever done in my series. So basically, Downfall was kind of a reflection of the past 2 years, or I guess at the time, the past year and a half of making content. Cole leaving the team was like me not really making any content in 2018. And so Cole returning to the team was like me making content again. And in the final episode, Cole says like, he's enjoyed every second of it, and so have I. I've really enjoyed making uh being able to get back to make content over the last 2 years, and my channel has grown so much since then, and so I just really want to thank you guys for that. And Cole also thanked his friends, so that's also like me saying thank you to my fellow animators, brick filmers, YouTubers. So uh Cole meeting the Skull Sorcerer in episode 2 whenever they're inside of the dungeon was kind of like, Cole found something that he lost and didn't know that it was what he really cared about. And that was also a reflection on how I lost my passion of filmmaking, but I found it during Revelations. But it truly wasn't until the movie for Revelations that I realized, wait a minute, this is what I love and this is what I want to do with my life. So that was also a self reflection. So the season has also kind of been a self reflection. Um, and it's just, yeah, it was short, but it's just kind of a tradition at this point where I just do every other season is 4 episodes. And 4 episode seasons are nice because they can have a shorter plot and they just take a lot less effort. But yeah, that's basically it for this commentary. Thanks for watching, or I guess just listening, but also thanks for watching Downfall or Divided or just anything on my channel. Thank you for watching my stuff. Thank you for even if you just watch. I don't care if you don't like. I don't care if you don't subscribe. I don't care if you don't comment. I don't care if you dislike. Just the fact that like you're watching my stuff just means the world to me. And seeing an episode hit 1,000 views, and like there's like one episode that I made this year that hasn't hit 1,000 views, which makes me really, really happy. Like the fact that 13 episodes or just videos that I made this year, 14 if you count the Kirby Moro tribute, but 14 videos that I made this year past 1,000 views. That's just insane to me that my videos were clicked on over 1,000 times. Like, that's just insane. That just is so mind-boggling and so odd, but such a nice feeling that people actually do care. So, yeah, just thank you so much for watching my stuff. It truly means the world to me. And yeah, I have one more video coming this year on the 31st. No, I might have two, but one for sure on the 31st, and that will be a top 10 list where I talk about my top 10 videos I made this year. It's really just gonna be stop motions, episodes and shorts, but uh Yeah, that should be pretty fun. So again, just one more time, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching my stuff. Thank you for caring. Thank you for supporting me. It just really means the world. Just thanks for listening and have a good rest of your day, I guess. Bye, guys.